Welcome back to the Notary Podcast hosted by me, Daniel C. Lewis. And this week, you're not going to believe this. We have the one, the only Vanessa Terry from Notary2Notary on the podcast today. Buckle up. Here we go. Welcome back to the Notary Podcast hosted by me, Daniel C. Lewis. And if you like the podcast, please hit like, share, subscribe, share it in your groups. And like I said last week, this week, yes, surprise, surprise, we have the one, the only Vanessa Terry, owner of Notary2Notary. She is a person that I always wanted on my podcast. She's doing some great things. How are you doing today, Vanessa?
I'm doing really good. I'm really excited to see, like I said earlier, it's been a while since I've seen you. So I'm loving this whole energy. I'm loving seeing you in the NNA conference this year. So I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing.
And you teach at the NNA conference every year now, also with AI. You're like a subject matter expert with AI.
I do love AI. It's like my new, what I've been doing for a couple of years now, but it's like, I get on the computer and I just start researching new platforms that come up. And every time I do this, I'm always like sitting there like floored, like, how is this possible? Is this real? It's like you're living in a cyber universe where it's like, the next thing is aliens. Like, how do we do this? Like, can we really do this? And then it's so funny. I'll find, like last night, I talked about a tool that I found, and I'm actually going to talk about this during the NNA conference. So this is a secret. And I was like, at this point, it's over. Like there's no competition. If you just use this tool, you win. You win everything. Like you win. It's just so cool. I love AI. I love it.
Yeah, I attended one of your workshops. I don't think it was last year, the year before, and I was so impressed by the knowledge you shared and how people can use that, because a lot of people are intimidated by AI, but you just made it seem so easy to use, so hands-on. You were hands-on with people. Just very impressive. So if you attend the NNA conference this year, which is in Las Vegas, you don't want to miss Vanessa's workshop. You absolutely don't want to miss Vanessa's workshop.
Yes. It's going to be fun.
Yes. So Vanessa, tell me, what inspired you to start Notary2Notary, and how has it evolved over the last couple of years?
So Notary2Notary, I had no idea would be what it is. That was not the intention. But a lot of things, you never know what's going to happen. I've been a notary for officially 10 years this year. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, in August of last year, marked my 10-year mark. But I've been a notary for years. I did it. I taught my friends and family how to do it just casually. They didn't charge anybody anything. Like, hey, let me show you what I do. And then one day I said, I'm going to just do like an online, like little, it's so funny because Notary2Notary started off as it was a Facebook post. And it said, I'm going to show you how to do your notary. And then I emailed over instructions. That was it. It was a long list of instructions. And from having an email list of instructions came the course, the office, the building, the social media, the conferences, which I had no intention of doing. I didn't even know this was a thing. And, but yeah, it just started off me just wanting to help people. And then I said, okay, well, I can get paid helping people too. And then there come the classes, and it just blew up like crazy, but I definitely love how people get into the business. Like I said, it helped change my life, and it may not be something for everybody, but for me, it's something that I see me doing the rest of my life because I love it. And when you find something that you love that doesn't feel like work, that's how you know you hit the gold mine. It's like, okay, good. I can do this. This is good.
And you are a natural educator. Not many people can do what you do, whereas you can make it seem very usable. You relate to people very well, and I think you're very empathetic to the learning process. Everybody learns differently, and you're really good at just teaching and putting forth facts that people would need to be successful. What makes Notary2Notary, for example, different than other notary platforms? educational
So
part.
yeah, that's great. So like my biggest thing is I'm not just here to teach you how to stamp papers. Like I don't want to just teach you the law. I'm trying to teach you a lifestyle. I'm trying to present an opportunity for you if you're interested. It's like, okay, if you want to do notary, for me, it changed my life. It changed my lifestyle. So it's teaching you, and it's not just how to do notary work. It's marketing, it's taxes, it's mindset. Like it's some days you're gonna lose your mind. Okay. So it's like a well-rounded concept. And like I said, I tell most of my students, like when you have problems, most of the problems you're going to have, I already had. So I can help you. And it's not going to be, how do I do an acknowledgement? I had a student the other day call me, this lady cursed me out on the phone about my prices. And I was so stressed out. Let me show you how to navigate that space. It's not just a, let me show you how to stamp a paper. It's a well-rounded concept, because when I first got started, I made a lot of mistakes. I had no idea. Even when I learned how to get clients, I didn't know taxes. I didn't know how to do business credit. I didn't know trademarking. I didn't know any of that stuff. And a lot of people, they're coming in fresh and they're like, okay, yes, you have a skill set, but how do you file taxes? How do you do business? How do you market? How do you retain clients? You're not taught this in school. So it's like, I want to teach people the whole picture. Like, how do you get grants? That's a big thing that people are like, like, how do you get grants? I don't know. And most people think they can't get them when you can. So it's like giving people all of those opportunities. Like we did a class, I think like 2 years ago, on government contracting, which I got my first one probably, I think it was like 4 years before that. Prior to that, I didn't even know that was a thing. Like I knew it was a thing, but it's one of those things where you're like, okay, well, that's not what we do. Like you got to be super duper smart. That's like for the elites over there, but it's not. And it's like, I like how you said you break it down. And that's why I really don't like how a lot of things are overcomplicated. And it could be that I have kids, so I have to give it to you in ABC form. And I like let's make this simple. So I'll do an analogy, and I'm talking about notary work, but I'm using like cooking or like, cleaning or something that breaks it down so it's not super complex. And I think that when you make it so everyone can understand and relatable, and a lot of people said who took my course, they say, when I go other places, they use all these technical terms and it's just like, whoa. And it's like, honey, come here. No, stop. Let me show you what this means. And I let's break it down in layman's terms so that way you can also do the same thing. So I think that's the biggest thing. It's like teaching you lifestyle, making it easy, so you can understand it, and a well-rounded concept. Yeah.
Do you have a success story from one of your students that you taught that's been very successful?
A lot of them. So I used to be really good about posting them on YouTube. I have to do better. Like, I do a lot of things. So trying to get people on YouTube, it's like, it's a mission. I'm a notary first, then I'm a trainer, then I'm a social media person. Social media is like a job in itself. The last student that I posted on YouTube was, from Indiana, Crystal. And she got started with me. She had taken tons of trainings, but she was scared. A lot of people, they go and they buy lots of classes and they freak out and they're like, I don't know what to do. She was one of those. And she got into my Built For You notary program, where we actually build the notary businesses for them. And she did the program. And when she finished it, she was on track to make six figures. So she was doing the numbers monthly to make 6 figures at the end of the year. And the biggest thing was forcing her to get out and actually, like, your phone's ringing. Are you going to go? And it's really cool because she's done really well. Like, she's very well on track to make 6 figures. She does several $1,000s a month, like high numbers. I forget what her numbers were. And initially, it's so funny. I told her about you. It was all general notary work. And I remember you talk about how you were heavy on general notary work, and everybody wants to get into loan closing, which is cool, but let's not forget. General notary work is good money too. And so she did all that just doing general notary work. And then now, of course, she's moving in. Actually, this was probably I want to say 6 months ago, I did her interview, and now she's doing loan closing. She's added on fingerprinting. She's doing a whole kit and caboodle. And she just actually texted me the other day saying she wanted to get into e-notary, which we helped set all that up with her Built For You. But I always tell everybody, don't try to do all of them at one time. It's not going to work that way. You can do them all, just not at once. When you get started, learn one at a time. So yeah, that's my That's my last big one that I put on social. And I was really proud of her because she, like I said, her biggest thing, she was just scared. You know, she said she bought anybody you tell me, she bought their training. She's bought the class, she bought the training. And she just was like, I needed someone to push me. And the Built for You it's built up in a way where it's 13 weeks. But like, let's say, for example, you're on week 3. You're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything until you get this done. And it's broken up with steps. So like I would have to check in with her all the time. Like, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? And some people need that extra push, you know? So yeah, that was mine. But then you have the other ones that I've done, you know, Ebony Locke. She was one of my Sophia Martin, YouTuber. The big ones that I'm Lori Morgan, you know, a lot of my students that have gone on to do additional trainings themselves. So that's big that I can think of. Most people are like, oh yeah, I know these people. Yeah. They went through Notary2Notary.
Yeah, you've helped, I would say at this point, thousands of notaries move their business from one end to another. So yes, very, very impressive. What are the skills that you would say new notaries should develop to be successful?
I think the biggest thing is just the willingness to learn. You know, I think the biggest block that I see from people that are interested and the ones that actually do it are the ones who can focus and tune out the negative naysayers. Like a lot of people are like, the negative naysayers can be people in Facebook groups, friends, family, but also could be yourself. You know, it could be you that are like, I want to do this, but you have so much self-doubt that you're not actually putting forth the effort. You know, I can't tell you how many coaching students I have that get calls, they don't take them because they're scared. And they're like, hey, about this. And it's just like, I don't know. I'm just going to go back to my job because it's comfortable and I know what that is. And so they want to do it, but they're holding themselves back. So it's like, you got to have that confidence to take that leap of faith to even get into it. And then let's say you have people, like I have some people who are fired up. They're ready to go. Maybe they got laid off. Maybe they hate their job, whatever the case is, and they're fired up. Now it's putting the work in, it's doing the training, it's learning the material and then executing properly. And it's like, you can't be lazy. This is not a lazy job. You know, it's not a lazy profession. It's easy, but you can't be lazy. You have to actually work at it. Like, for example, if I say, hey, number 1, go sign up with 100 signing services. Here's the list, go. And you do 5, it's not going to work. I mean, it might work. You might strike gold in the 5, but when you most likely do not, then you're going to come back and you're like, well, Vanessa, you have to work. And for example, I have people who say, I'll say, hey, go, I'm gonna give you a list of title companies, go talk to them, or attorneys, go talk to them, go, and I tell them how to do it. And they'll say, well, I went out and they all told me no. I said, they all told you no?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'll say, how many was all? 2.
2, yes.
All right, well, that's not it. Like, you have to actually work at it, you know? So it's like, you know, the skill set itself is not a hard skill set, but it's learning, it's opening your mind to understanding the information, you know, and then actually executing on it. And knowing that this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's not a get rich quick business. It's not start it, commission, make $1,000 tomorrow. That's not how that works. You got to actually work at it. Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because so many people think this is some kind of get rich quick scheme. And something about you that I wanted to point out that I noticed, you're a great educator. You make everything, you break things out into small parts and help people understand the business. But one thing that about you make it seem like it's so easy to do. It's so effortless. You're very like an effortless instructor. And I'm so glad you said you have to work at it because people think, oh, Vanessa's doing it. She's make this thing sound so easy. I can just go out and make $1,000 in a day. And I'm so glad you said that you have to work at it. What do you think are some of the common mistakes that notaries make when they get into this business?
The biggest, if I was to say 2 biggest ones, is listening to people. Like, that drives me crazy. Like, it drives me crazy. And it's like, I know, you know, in the beginning, you don't know who not to listen to, but I would always say, you know who not to listen to by the fruit that they have. If you're listening to people who are complaining and crying and they don't have any money and they're not successful, one thing I know is no one's going to come to you, or for example, Mark Wills, or come to Laura, or, you know, someone who's established, and they're not going to complain. Like, if they're complaining, Laura's going to say, listen, stop, cut it out. You're doing it wrong. because they know already what works. But if you go to other people who don't have the results you want, they're going to sit down beside you and cry with you and say, yeah, I know it sucks. The market's dead. You can't do anything. This is the worst industry ever. Right? Because they're not winning. They're not winning. So how can they help you? So it's like listening to the wrong people is a big mistake people make. And then I think not reading their handbook, like not taking the time to know like their laws and what they like, not knowing their laws and not learning how to run a business, because most people, you had jobs first. And so you're taking the job mentality into running a business, and it doesn't work like that. And I will tell you, when I first started my first business, it was a nonprofit, and I quit my job, I had to go back to work within about 4 months because I didn't know how to run a business. I quit my job and I said, oh, I can relax now. I can work when I want to work. I can, do what I want. No, if anything, you work harder when you work for yourself. And I made that mistake. So it's not uncommon, and that's just a mistake a lot of people make. They think they don't have, if I say, hey, you want to do a notary business? And they're like, yeah, I want to do it. Great. How many hours you work at your job? 8. How many hours work at your business? Every day. 1. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to take that same effort. Now, I'm not saying you got to do 8 and 8, but maybe 8 and 4. Okay. You got to put that time in.
Sure. You point out so many great things there. In fact, how did you start in the notary business?
So I went on Google and I just looked up side hustles, and I did a lot of MLMs, which now I think I'd probably be good at an MLM, but I did a lot of MLMs. I didn't understand marketing, so I failed horribly at them. I did Mary Kay. I did Avon. I did a lot. I used to sell knives door to door. So I did a lot of jobs, and I was trying to just find that perfect side hustle that would make me rich. You know how that goes. You just keep going through. And I found Notary, and I promise you, when I found it, in my head, I put it in the gas money category. I'm going to do it. It's going to give me gas money. It's not going to be like, so when I said, cool, that's another little certification, I'm going somewhere else. And I did it because I just had my daughter and I wanted to find something I could do that was like, make more money, work from home type situation. And I would say within like a couple months, it was booming. Like it was picking up a lot. And I was just like surprised, like, what is this? Because I will tell you, when I first got started, I already had my nonprofit. And so I knew about Google business profile pages. I knew about websites. I set that up and people started calling. So, but I didn't think there was a market for notary the way that it was. Like most people, they say, how do you make money? I was that person. And then when I did, it was like, oh, snap. I like this. I like this. This is good. I like it. So that's how I got into it.
Very, very good. You sound like a serial entrepreneur, just constantly learning, constantly developing, constantly evolving. Speaking of that, how do you think remote online notarization is shaping the future of the notary industry?
Oh man, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So, and I say this begrudgingly because there was I do the NNA conference every year. And Mr. Hyman, I think that's his name, Mr. Hyman, probably like 2 years ago, might have been last year. I think it was 2 years ago. He said that, don't worry, guys, AI is not going to take your job, right? And when he said that, because, I'm into AI a lot, I hear you. And my answer to that, currently right now, AI is not going to take your job. The notary using AI will absolutely take your job. But I do see a future, whether that's 5 or 10 years from now, where AI will replace the traditional notary. I see that. Now, will it be completely? No. It's just like, do people still have VCRs? Yeah, right? But most of us have Netflix. It's going to be one of those things. It's going to be, if I was to project, it's going to be where everyone's just doing their notaries on their phone, which currently you have the apps that do that. Like we're currently developing an app that's going to be in that same space. And so it's going to be in that space, which is going to require remote online notary. The reason why it's not happening aggressively in all 50 states right now is because all the laws have not caught up to it. But you just have like It's just legalities. And honestly, you have the fear. A lot of people in office, legislative positions, they're afraid of, and that's normal. Most people are afraid of change. They get freaked out. I mean, when I mention AI, people lose their mind sometimes. Like, oh, the world's going to be taken over,
Yeah.
And the best quote that I heard came from a guy named Gary Vee. And he said, people that are afraid of AI because they think that, and it's true, people will make fake videos, they'll do all this thing, it'll ruin jobs. It has that flaw part. And that's what he said. He said, but so did cars, right? When cars came in, there was no law that said you couldn't drink and drive, and people were killing people drunk driving. And that never happened when you were on horses. You can be on a horse drunk as you want, and your horse might just dump you over. You couldn't run into another one and kill somebody, right? But we didn't stop the car from being developed. What we did was we put laws in place. We created more info. We figured out how can we manage this really cool technology so that way we can try to rear it in. Same thing's going to happen with AI. It's a really cool tool. It's a really cool technology. Does it have its things that are bad? Yeah. But now we as humans have to figure out, how do we bring this in? How do we make this really cool thing not hurt us as much? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think that quote that you have, AI won't replace you, but the notary that's using AI will replace you.
Absolutely.
Very good.
I was teaching, oh my gosh, when I tell you the AI tools that are out here right now is insane. Like I was using this tool. I'm trying not to say it too often because I don't want to lay it out for the NNA, but there's this tool right now that literally, if you implement it, takes all the guesswork out of marketing online. It's something to do. It's nothing. You don't have to think about it. Normally, when we market, what do? We build a website. We do ads. We do stuff. We test it, and then we see what works. We don't have to test it anymore. It's AI that says it's exactly what you need to do in the exact matter, and do that, and you're done.
So when you put the link in, you don't have to go and do a test link and say, oh, let me see if it works. The AI does.
It does it all for you perfectly. That's why I said, like, AI is really cool. It's just a matter of learning how to do it. Like how to use it, how to learn it, all that good stuff. And you do it over time, it's a grab, but you definitely need to get into it. It's like people who say, what's something like we all have like the family members that, oh, I don't want to shop online and I don't want to use Zelle and, and what you get left behind, there's a place, I'm in Florida. There's a place in Florida. I forget where I was at. I was in Miami, in one of these, in the areas in Miami, where the only way you could pay to park there is if you have a smartphone. They don't have, there's nothing, you cannot pay on a thing. And there was a gentleman who said, well, what am I supposed to do? Sir, you need a smarphone. And he didn't have one. And I was like, man, you can't park here. But you got to stay in the know. You have to stay in the know.
Yeah. What advice would you give to notaries that are hesitant to use the transition into online notarizations?
Well, the biggest thing to people who want to get into online notarizations is, first, you got to know the law. Secondly, you got to take the time to learn how to use technology. And I say that because typically our demographic is between like 40 to 60, 65. So you probably didn't have a really strong computer background, right? And which is not hard because you have a brain. You can use it, you can learn it. So it's learning how to use technology and then learning the laws behind it and then learn to market. And I tell people a lot of times that that's kind of the caveat when people say, I want to be a full-time e-notary. It's like, okay, but how are you with online marketing? If you're trying to go full-time, you got to market online. Can you do it the traditional phone calls, visits, maybe sending emails? You can do it, but it's also like riding the horse instead of when you have a car right here. You can ride a horse, but the car is going to be faster, And then you have the people who are using AI, so they're already past the car stage. So it's just going to make it a little harder for you if you don't take that time to like work on your skill set, which is important.
Since you are an educator, because I get this all the time, I hear people I'm sure people come to you and say, I hear what you're saying, Vanessa, but I'm bad with marketing. I don't know any marketing. How do you counsel them to say, wait a minute, we need to move forward and not keep looking backward? How do you counsel people that come to you and say something like, I'm bad with marketing? So
that's a mindset. That you're bad at anything is a mindset. It's something that you believe. So for example, when I first started running, because I run a lot now. When I first started running, if I ran a mile, I probably was going to die on the ground. Okay. And I was like, oh, that's not a runner. And now, like I said, now I run all the time. Like my longest distance was 20 miles, but it's in your head. It's in your head that you can't do it. And the advice to most people is like, when you first learned how to drive, you didn't know how to drive at all. You were scared. You were panicky. You couldn't figure out how to parallel park. I didn't parallel park for like 2 years because I was like, this is ridiculous, right? I hated parallel parking, even into my adulthood. And then now I can parallel park. Well, I will say now I have a rear view camera, so it kind of makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
I didn't like parallel parking. I had to learn how to do that. But what my point is, when you first started, you were scared. And now most of y'all are eating and driving, putting your makeup on and driving. You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
But that's because you went from point A to point B. So what happens a lot of times, though, after most people hit like age 30, they stop learning. They say, okay, whatever I got up until 25 or 25 to 30, that's all I got. I don't know how to use this ticky-talkie, right? I don't know how to use this Snapchatty stuff you got going on. And you're choosing not to. You're choosing not to learn. I didn't know how to use AI. And I learned how to use it. I didn't know how to do a lot of things. You have to commit to consistently learning. And that's so important because if you look at our economy over time, look at the world over time, the economy itself changes every 10 years. Every 10 years, it's a new thing. And so right now, from now, I would say even probably started like a year or two ago, is the year of AI. And it's going to take over the next 10 years. Prior to that, it was heavily all social media. It was like social media was king. Was king. Okay. Then before that was the internet. Before that, I don't know, what was that? Like industrial. And then it keeps going back, but it changes every 10 years. And so if you don't continue to increase in your skill set, you will be left behind. If your primary form of marketing right now is handing out flyers, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to destroy you. It's just, it's you are no longer in the game. You are sitting on the side of, you're over there. You're not getting picked to play. Okay. Unless everybody else calls out, they're all sick. Then you can get in. Yeah.
Very good. Very, very, very. I'm getting so much. You're talking, and I'm taking notes while you're talking. What strategies do you recommend for notaries looking to scale their business, to build their business? What strategies would you recommend?
Okay, so let's say you're already in the business and you're making some money, you're doing some things and you want to grow, you want to scale. The biggest thing is just when it comes to expanding your reach is first is research. Okay, so I'm really, really big on market research. I'm really big on defining your audience. Like if I'm trying to and I niche down, define your audience and then attack with what I call guerrilla marketing. So it's, let's say, for example, you want to do estate planning with attorneys. Okay, where are they? What are they looking for? Study your market that you're trying to hit and then figure out, I do a lot of research before I hit a market. And then I say, okay, where are they? And when I say research, I mean, I stalk their lives. Okay. I'm on their Instagram. I'm on their LinkedIn. I'm using Google's tools. Google has a lot of analytics you can do to figure out where they go. What memberships do they join? But I want to know about their lives. How do they become an attorney? What do they got to go through? Are there any attorney associations that I can be a part of? So I research their lives and then I guerrilla market them aggressively, whether that's calls, emails, joining their groups, engaging on social media. So researching your market's really important and then figuring out how you're going to market to those people. But especially now, you want to have a system. I recommend everybody have an automated system that works so that we just not throwing things up against the wall. Like, how is it going to work when they start coming in? What's your customer service look like? How are you going to do your price points? And I say this is for people who are already established, meaning that you have a professional website, you have a professional, you're professional itself. You can't go to attorneys for one with a Gmail. I mean, you can, but probably gonna go to spam. You can't go with the crazy looking headshot. You can't go with the website. It looks like your daughter did it. I say my daughter because she's 13, but you have to play the part, And I think the main thing I tell all my students is when you break your days up, if you're not out actively doing the skill set itself and you're not out actively marketing, you should be either training, researching, whether that's your market, the law, taxes, doing your accounting, or researching your market and then also just learning. So a lot of my time is spent on YouTube, or in trainings and conferences, reading books on how to grow and scale. So I'm always learning. I was doing it this morning. Like I'm always learning what's working right now. How can I, let's say, for example, I have a Google profile. Google sends out, they have trainings, free trainings. You know, they send out emails, hey, new class here and there. I'll get into a class and say, okay, what's new? So you're always working on your business. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense, which brings me to my next question. There's a lot of parents out there. There's a lot of business people out there, and you do a lot. You're an educator. You have your notary business, nonprofit, and you are a fitness fanatic. Hopefully I can say that you're a fitness fanatic. And the most important job you have is your mother. How do you balance all that? Because a lot of people have a trouble with balancing all that. How do you balance that?
So I think the first big thing that changed my life was reading. I read a lot of books from other people who've done what I'm trying to do. And I say that because if you're trying to go into entrepreneurship and do it big, you can't go with the mindset of the people that you're around who are most people who just work jobs. They're not going to understand what you're doing. There was a book called Slay Like a Mother. That book changed my life because I used to feel horrible that sometimes we wouldn't be in the house and me cooking up a good meal and sitting down at the table, but me and my kids would go out to dinner. Like we may not be in the house cooking for an hour and then serving and what she really broke that down is mothering, parenting is what you define it to be. Are your children, do they feel loved? Are they getting what they need? And it really started to break some of those standards that society would try to say, like, oh, you have to do it like this, you know. I have for example, I have a housekeeper and they say, oh, you don't clean. I don't have time to clean my own house. I do, but I'm gonna be working on this book right now, or I'm gonna be doing this. And so it's learning from other people who've already done it, who can tell you the most effective way. But also the whole work-life balance, it changes every day. Like some days it works perfect. Some days it doesn't. The idea that you're going to have a perfect balance is a lie that someone sold you. It's never, balance is not real. It's constant tweaking and constant changing. But I incorporate my kids into a lot of it. It's like my kids know a lot when it comes to business building because and I do a very impromptu schedule. So like, for example, I'll get up early in the morning. I get 4:00 and I'll just do some courses for an hour or read some books for an hour. I find ways to get the information in that I need, whether I'm at the gym, if they're at their events, I have my training going, whatever I'm trying to work on. And that's why, so with me, I wanted to build a life that was flexible. And that was important to me because of my children. So I homeschool again, like I kind of go in and out sometimes, but I'm homeschooling now. And in order to do that, I have to build a life that's flexible. So that means I have to have it to where I can work when I need to work. You know, I can be with them when I need to be with them. I can do my training. So there are times they know my kids will come in my room. It might be 8:00 at night and I'm on a course or I'm reading. It was so funny. I was doing, Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
He had a 3-day conference, I forget, a couple days ago, and I was doing it, but I couldn't catch it live, so I had to do them in the evening. So when I watched in the evening, and mind you, if you ever go to a Tony Robbins, he'll have you like this one had you like screaming and jumping and yelling, and so my son comes in the room, I'm like, yeah, and I'm like screaming like 9:00 at night, and he's like, Ma, go to bed. I'm like, hold on, I'm working right now. So it's just taking off the traditional way of looking at how things have to be done. You know, it doesn't have to be a standard 9 to 5. It actually does not. As long as you get it all in there, it works. It works.
What challenges have you faced in overcoming, and just because you sound like you're, and I use this word a lot, obsessed with time management. What challenges have you faced with that?
I would say time management is also one of those things that's like, it's a term we use, but it's very hard to do effectively, you know, because especially when you're what they call an overachiever, you always want to do more. You always feel like, could I have done more? You know, I want to put this on my schedule, you know, all of these things. And you kind of get it can become overwhelming when you want to try to fit more into a day than you can. And so I think the biggest thing for me is like managing my schedule. I always say if it's not on my Google calendar, it's not getting done. I live by the calendar as far as when it comes to like appointments and work and things like that. when I'm not, and I don't have like real downtime. I don't call it downtime. Like my downtime, surprisingly enough, more time than not is with my kids. So when we go to the beach or we go to the park or we go do rock climbing, that's my fun. That's my fun. When I'm not with them doing what is to them technically work,
Yeah.
I'm working,
Yeah.
and so that time, the time management is like it's a hard one. I just say I stick with my Google Calendar. I journal very aggressively.
Yes.
I
Yes.
live by to-do list, and I live by. So it was a book I read. I forget what it was called, but it basically talked about procrastination, and it
Yeah.
said, and this is why I journal so aggressively. If you write things down to do every day, and you see for 7 days straight, you keep writing the same thing down, it's not getting done. On day 7, you have to ask yourself, now, why am I not doing this? Because there's a reason why you're not. Because if you were to write on there, I'm about to go get a cookie, you would have got that cookie, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
reason why you're not doing it. And so I sit down and I say, okay, I'm not doing this because honestly, I don't want to. It feels boring. It seems it's going to be hard. It's going to be tedious. And then now that you define why you're not doing it, then you say, okay, are you going to do it or not? Period. If you're not going to do it, then you say, are you going to delegate it to someone else?
Yeah.
And so it's either I'm going to do it now, I'm going to delegate it, or I'm no longer allowed to write this down. And I do that very aggressively. And it helps me a lot. Some people write the same thing down every day. And it's like, come on, you're not going to do it.
Vanessa, that's what 5% of the population do to be successful, writing down their things. What I got to ask you, what makes you, because you're very motivated, very energetic. What motivates you? What's the things? What triggers you to be so motivated?
So it's the funny part is like, I don't know if I always like this when I was a kid. People might think like, oh, Vanessa, you're like, you just like, you want to make money and you want to build. No, yes and no. I like learning. Like I'm a nerd and I call myself a nerd. Like when I was younger, in grade school, elementary school, I've always made straight A's. But during summer, I hated summer vacations. So give kind of backstory. I didn't like summer vacations because I liked learning. I was always advanced in my class. I used to get my mother and my dad used to give me work during the summertime. She would give me she's a nurse, her nurse books, and she would give me or her anatomy books. And she said, okay, go do chapter 8. So I've always loved learning. The biggest thing you can give me back in the day, now don't buy this from me because everything's online, was an encyclopedia. I'd like, yeah, let's go. Like, for example, I would read the dictionary. Okay.
You would read a dictionary.
It's really fun. I love finding a subject and obsessing over it. So it's not uncommon for me to, like, for example, I like the law. I really love the law. I love reading the law. I think it's fascinating, but I can find a subject. This way, this is me. I can find a subject and I can obsess. I can go into my room and tune out for hours or days and just binge it. Like when I got my real estate license and my loan officer license, my real estate license is 60 hours. I did all 60 hours in 3 days. It was like 3 or 4 days. And I just sat down and because it's just when my brain works. I can just obsess, right? But I obsess not to obsess about doing real estate. I'm obsessed with learning. I'm obsessed with the idea. This kind of goes a little philosophical, but I'll bring it back in. I'm obsessed with the idea of what we don't know. And when you realize the things you don't know, one thing about what you know now, imagine if you had known that when you were 10, what would your life have been like? So what if you could aggressively go, and then think about this, what things are you doing now that you would not be doing if only you knew better or you knew different? That is what is in my head. And it just makes me like obsessed. Like what else is out there that I don't know?
So just learning is a motivation for you, just the constant learning. Yeah, because I get people all the time saying, I don't like to learn that way. I can only learn this way. And I can see how what you're saying, how you can be successful just being a continuous learner to be successful in this field. And I think that's what makes you stand out. You're a continuous learner.
Yeah. And I will say too, it's like it's like I have a couple conferences that I already picked out that I want to go to this month, and they're completely not related to notary or anything that I do. But I do that because a lot of times I'll go to these places and I'll learn things I had no idea would apply to what I'm doing. It's just, you never know what you don't know. And if you only try to go learn what you think you know, you're going to be missing out on things. And it's a quote that I heard that said, what is it? It's something like, you don't know You won't change. You won't change what you believe to be true because like you believe it's true. So you're not even going to question. You're not going to. This what it is. You're not going to question what you believe is true. So if you, for example, if you have a solid like, oh, this is what I know, you're not going to question it. You're never going to go research it because you already think you know it. And then it goes into like you don't know what you need to know, and if you don't know what you need to know, you're not going to ask. You're not going to go look for it because you don't know you need to know it. It's just like.
So that quote was, "You won't change what you believe."
So I want to make sure I say it right. It's you won't question what you believe is true. So for example, let's bring it back to notary. If you believe everyone has to work a traditional job 40 hours a week, it's impossible to make 6 figures as a notary, you'll never question that. You'll never explore that option because you don't believe it's true. You know, if everyone around you is doing the same thing, you don't know to question it because you think this is true.
Yeah. So that is so, you said so many things that's so true. In fact, I teach title producers classes, and 10 years ago, I got a lot of people, blue collar people, coming to the classes, try to change their careers. Now I get people with a doctorate degree, bank managers, professors, all kinds of people, white collar people coming in to the classes. And you're right, they're changing their perspective every 10 years. This thing is evolving. Mm-hmm. What is the best advice you've ever received for your business?
The best advice, that's a good one. The best advice okay, so, all right. I made a lot of big mistakes in my life. One being when I first got started, I'm trying to be as vague as possible so no one knows what I'm talking about. But when I first got started, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was seeing success, but I didn't know because I didn't know. Like Notary2Notary took off crazy. I had no idea. And so I was approached by different companies and people that were making me offers that I didn't know were not in my best interest. And I had a mentor at the time that said, before you do anything in business, you need to learn it. Because if you don't, you're going to get taken advantage of. Everyone does not have your best interest at heart. And that was the biggest lesson that I still learn to this day, because when I try to get into new fields, if you're going into a new field and you have no idea what it is, and people pick up on that, there are people who take advantage of you and they'll say, oh, she doesn't know, we're just going to do this. And so it may not apply to everybody, but that really changed my life, because I guess I was coming at kind of green and just like thinking like, oh yeah, everyone's going to help me. Why would they not help me? They're so nice. Look, they're smiling. Like, and it's like, no. Everyone's not trying to help you. Some people just want to fill their pockets. And okay. So that was a really big one that kind of like still lives with me to today and really made a big impact on me. And then the other piece of advice that I got was, to be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself in relation to business, because a lot of times when businesses have a hard space, because we've been through hard times independently and as a company, the different things, a lot of times, especially when you're the one that's doing it, you attach yourself to that business, you attach your value, you attach your everything. And that's why you'll see Fortune 500 owners, they go bankrupt and the owner kills himself. And it's like, what happened? They attached themselves to that business. Their identity was that. And when that company didn't do well, they couldn't handle it. And so when I say be kind to yourself, it's you're gonna go through hard times as a business owner. That's going to happen. It's going to happen. You're gonna lose a contract. You're gonna get, sued. You're gonna have bad things happen. But you have to know this is just the name of the game that you're playing in. You're playing in this game. And so you have to learn to separate yourself from your business. You are not your business. You are not. You're starting a business, but you are not your business. And if it doesn't go well, that's fine. Okay. You'll work through it. You'll get through it, or you'll do another one. But I learned to be kind to myself. Because you're learning. Yeah.
So any final thoughts you want to give our viewers? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that if I could just tell everybody is, of course, be kind to yourself, but also aggressively go after your goals. If you have a vision for yourself, if there's a thought already in your head that you can do something, then you can do it. The only thing that's stopping you is people around you and their verbiage, maybe how you grew up or society or even yourself. But if you have a thought in your head something of a lifestyle that you want, or a business you want to start, you can do it. You are no different from me, no different from Elon Musk, no different from anybody else who's super smart. You are no different. You have the same capabilities to do and to perform. So at this point, it's a matter of having confidence in yourself, having confidence, working on that confidence, building that confidence, learning, taking the time to learn and increase your skill set, and then aggressively go after your dreams, because you only get one life. Yeah. Okay, that's it. It was so funny. I heard a quote. I don't think it applies. It does. Okay, it's one of those quotes that's like, really? Actually got off TikTok. So the quote is, "We die at the end of this." Okay, at the end of this thing called life, we're all gonna die. Okay, yeah. And it's like, if we stop putting so much weight on what people think of us, oh, what if I try this and it fails? What, honey, you. Time's a ticking. We die at the end of this. Yes. It doesn't matter you know what I mean? Yes. It's just like, I think about that a lot when I'm like nervous about doing something. It's like, yeah, it doesn't matter how it turns out. We all die at the end of this. So shoot your shot. Like, just shoot your shot. Yeah, the biggest thing, like, don't get to the end of the road for yourself and be full of regrets. And I will tell you one thing that I've noticed, even me being 34, I think I'm 34. Honestly, I forget. I don't know if you should forget. I'm so serious. This cannot just be me. I forget my age all the time. And I don't know if it's because I stopped caring about it. But I told you, I'm like, oh. My daughter was like, 34. Thank you.
Love kids.
Even in my 34 years of living, when I think about things I regret, the majority of them are things I haven't done. It's not the things that I've done. It's the things that I said, man, I should have did that. I should have did that, And that's only me being 34. So imagine what it'll be like if you're 70, 80, 90, 100, and you have a longer list of like, man, I should have did that. And then those things that you made excuses for as to why I'm not going to do that because they're going to think of, you ever noticed? I noticed this too. It's a phenomenon. It's a real phenomenon. And it's so crazy. It's like, you got to study people.
Yeah.
You ever notice as people get older, they start to care less about other people? Like, when you notice how you have that aunt, that great aunt that's like, that dress is ugly, girl, come here.
Yeah, yeah.
Or they're just or they're like, I don't have time for that. Or you'll say, Aunt Jessie, can you do this? Can you? No. Well, why not? Because I don't want to. Right? They have gotten rid of the I care so much what people think about me. And as you get older, you get more of that. Like, it ain't that deep. It's not. Yeah. And so I'm trying to get more of that now. I'm like, how can I get? Because you think about when you're like 16, you care what everybody thinks. You're like,
Yes.
And then on the flip side, it's like when you're 60, you're like, what? This is what I'm wearing today. Are you okay?
Yes.
So it's definitely getting to that point where you just like, stop caring what everybody else thinks. We all die at the end of this. No one gets to stay here.
Yes.
So
you're so right. So right. So Vanessa, I think that we got to have you back here because you're just so awesome. I'm always impressed every time we've had little conversations here and there, but I'm always so impressed by you, and the day is no exception. You know how sometimes, just along the lines you said, sometimes you talk to people and you say, you know what, I really don't want to talk to them anymore. But you are so impressive. Every time I talk to you, you have great energy. You have great thoughts. And I love that you're so vulnerable and said, you know what? I came into this thing and I made this mistake. I made that mistake. I hear so many educators say, oh, no, I am just the expert. And I was born with all this knowledge. You just I think that's your appeal, why people are so attracted to your style, your educational style. So I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come up, homeschooling the kids, running marathons, building businesses. You're just what would you call? You would call that something, not a revolutionary, but you're an evolved woman. Evolved entrepreneur that I think everybody should be looking at and just taking your cues and just to move forward with their business. And you've helped so many people. How can people, if they wanted to get into your program, where should they go to get into your program, the Notary2Notary, the Build For You program? How would they get in contact with you?
Notary2Notary.com. So you go to Notary2Notary.com, go to training. We have live events. We have coaching. We're on every social media platform at this point. So anywhere you go online, you'll find us. But, and once again, that's why it's important to be online. But anyone, just go to Notary2Notary.com. Notary number 2, Notary.com.
Notary number 2, Notary.com.
Mm-hmm.
And they can see you in person live at the National Notary Association Conference.
It's going to be a party.
Yes, it's going to be a party in Las Vegas this year.
It's going to be fun. Maybe I'll get everybody to actually jump in the pool this time.
Yes, I was there when you jumped in the pool.
Yeah, we got people in the pool. We got to get everybody in the pool this year. We got to get everybody in the pool this year.
You jumped in the pool with all your clothes on.
I did. And like right after the gala, I was like, all right, everybody, keep your dress on. Get in the pool. Like,
get in the pool.
People are a little scared, but we're going to get them in there this year.
I think this year is going to be the year that we get everybody in. Yeah. That was a great time. Yeah, everybody was looking at you. Is she really going to get in the pool with her dress? Yes, you did.
We only live once. Now I have a memory that I can hold on to. That's why I try to do everything. Yeah, I remember that.
Very impressive. So Vanessa, thank you again for coming. If you like this podcast, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go to Notary2Notary.com. That's Notary2Notary.com. Get all those great products that Vanessa have. And next week, we're going to have another special guest. See you next week.
See you next week.